Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Gary, sometimes referred to as just Uncle. I have prepared a special series of exercises for my niece, Laurie, who has been having some back issues. I'd like to remind you that I am not a certified trainer. However, based on the information I've received regarding Laurie's condition, I think this might help her if she tried these exercises every morning. Okay, let's begin. The first one is the classic child's pose. I'm going to get my timer just to give you a realistic idea of how long 1 minute is. When I do these exercises, I've suggested a time frame. You are not required to do it for the exact time indicated. You can modify. I think these are times that you might be able to do, but if not, you could break it up. If the exercise calls for 30 seconds, do 10, 10, 10, until you're comfortable with a consistent 30 seconds. All right, the child's pose can be done with the arms extended or the arms at one side. Let me show you. Now the arms are extended, and this also helps stretch out the shoulders. This might not feel comfortable right at the beginning, but as the pose continues, you should fall into a comfort zone and really enjoy doing the child's pose. If you like, you could put your arms at your side. It might be helpful to put on a little background music if you prefer. If not, just focus on what you're doing and remember, breathe. We never want to hold our breath. That's 1 minute. The second one I'm calling the modified child's pose. And what we do is from the child's pose, just roll to the top of your head and try to arch your back up. So you're stretching out those lower back muscles. I have now rolled to the top of my head, keeping it in kind of close to my knees, and I'm hoping that there's a little arch in the top of my back. Is it rounded a little bit? I hope so. Again, breathing. This seems to stretch out the middle back even more than the lower back, but equally important. From that position, another minute, and we roll into the angry cat pose. Here, we truly want to accentuate that rounded back as much as we can. You might want to pull your hands in closer to your knees, about like this, so they drop straight down from the shoulders. Very important to continue to breathe. Nice slow in and out. The next one is going to be 30 seconds of the downward dog. Now, as we get into this position, we want to make every effort
to stretch those shoulders as well. To do so, sometimes you can bend your knees and possibly get into a better shoulder stretch by doing that. This isn't essential for the back, but I believe it helps stretch out your hamstrings, and it's all related. Exercise 5 is just pretty clear, lying flat, and we're going to do our legs over to each side for 30 seconds. I find that if we lie flat and bend one leg over and one leg straight, we can get a little better stretch. Very important to maintain the flexibility and support for your spine by doing twisting motions when you're exercising, so that later in the day, when you've got to do a quick twist, hopefully you've already loosened up these muscles a little bit and it won't strain you as much. Now we're just going to switch to the other side. If you have a little kitchen timer, you could use that. Then you know you're not cheating. Otherwise, you got to depend on yourself to count seconds, which is often tricky to do. Feel the stretch. Keep your shoulder blades flat on the ground. You may not be able to get your knee all the way over, but you definitely want to keep your shoulders, both shoulders, in contact with the ground. Let's see here. The next one I gave you was the pretzel twist, left and right. Again, I think this is very important for you. Maybe you're familiar with this. Cross one leg over. Let me set my timer. And twist to the right. Good to face, turn and look in the direction where you're twisting, because at the same time, think about stretching your neck and turning your head at the same time as you're twisting and engaging the muscles that support the spine and the lower back. Twisting them, stretching them a little bit, so they're ready for the rest of the day's activities. Now we'll try the other side. Reverse, left knee on top, turning to the left, looking to the left. Feel it. Twist as far as you can. You feel you can move a little more, move your hands a little bit more. Okay. The next one I'm calling the modified boat, with shoulders and legs raised off the ground. Most important thing in this abdominal exercise is to never, never let your lower back arch. To do so, you start by lying flat. Lift your legs. In fact, I often loosen up a little by just going like this a couple times. Then, with legs up, slowly start lowering them as low as you could go, as long as you still feel your lower back is not being arched at all. Your lower back must be flat, straight, in contact with the mat. And then you slowly extend your arms like this. You could lift a little bit. It's not that important. As long as your shoulders are off the ground, your ankles are raised. Initially, you may not be able to hold 30 seconds. That's okay. Break it up. Build up to it. Build up to it, but just leave a total of 30 seconds, okay? Now I'm suggesting a plank of 30 seconds on your elbows or your hands. I always prefer it on my elbows, and Desi prefers it on her hands. Some people feel on your elbows, it strains your shoulders too much. See what you're comfortable doing. We want to keep as straight as we can. Hopefully, you'd be able to put a broomstick on my shoulders and I have a straight line down to my ankles. I don't know. I hope it is straight. Again, we want to breathe. There are all kinds of modifications when you're doing this. If you choose to later, lifting alternate legs, things like that. But for the time being, focus on a good solid plank. Okay, now we want to do side planks. Now again, I put down a total of 1 minute, which is 30 seconds to each side. It may be too much to begin. You'll see what you're comfortable with. But here, we want to try to stack our ankles one on top of the other and extend up. Try to open the space as much as we can. Look up to the right as your right arm is extended. Here we're working the obliques, the sides of our core structure. Again, the muscles that really support and engage that spine. Very important routine. Now I'm going to switch to the other side. And again, I have my ankles, my feet stacked, one on top of the other. All the support is really on one foot. I want to try to extend as much as I can, reaching for the sky, and turning my head and looking at my hand. Now let's see. The next one we have is, I'm going to repeat our modified boat pose because I really love it. I think it's one of the best things. Again, you want to start with the legs up, slowly lower them until you really are comfortable and your back is flat on the mat. You do not want an arch in your lower back at any time. You want to lift your shoulder blades off the ground, keep your ankles raised, and see what you can do. I don't care if it's 3 10-second intervals. This engages your core, this entire midsection that you need to support and free up the lower back. And now we have what we call the seated Russian twist. Okay. I'm suggesting 20 to 50 rotations to each side. And you're going to sit with your feet flat on the ground, lean back a little, and continue to twist. I say 20 to 50 rotations. You'll feel it. There are different ways you can do this. I often do it with a little medicine ball. And I'll start with it close to my body. Then I'll extend it. The weight of the ball helps me engage a little bit deeper, wider twist and turn. It kind of pulls me sometimes, even though I'm supporting it, and it helps me have a more complete twist. So at some point, this is an 8-pound ball. Even if you use a 4-pound medicine ball, you'd be surprised. It helps with this twist. Most important thing is the quality of the movements, not the quantity. Smooth, steady, bring it in close. And those are the Russian twists. The last thing I'm suggesting that we finish up with is a child's pose again. And you know what? During the day, at different times, you just might want to drop down into a child's pose and stretch out. Maybe you could say to Max and Jack, okay, let's do a child's pose. And everyone just stretch out for about 30 seconds. Breathing, relaxing. Stretching those shoulders. Okay, and And that brings us to the end. I haven't looked, but I'm hoping it's about 10 minutes. Can you tell?